Hi, aren't you so excited to be back from spring break and here about to learn about the 1950s? The fourth quarter is going to be really exciting for us. I know I kind of just told you about it, but we're going to start with the 1950s, which is super creepy because everyone like acts perfectly, and it's these huge families that live in suburbs that all look alike, but it's really phenomenal. And it's the start of the Cold War, which we're going to talk about.
So a lot of the 50s is about housewives. And if you've seen any 50s movies, maybe you've kind of seen that housewives in the 50s act very differently than they do in today's day and age. They were kind of held to a different standard, and a lot of them were stay-at-home moms. And their number one goal was to make their husband's life amazing. And so anything that they did was to please their husband. So these are kind of some things that they were expected to do, which we're just going to read you our favorites.
Yeah. I like the second one on the left-hand side. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup. Put a ribbon in your hair and be fresh looking. He's just been with a lot of work-weary people. That's ridiculous. Right? If I'm a housewife and I stay home with the kids all day, I'm not going to put a ribbon in my hair because my husband's coming home from work.
I love the one that says, listen to him. You may have a dozen important things to tell him, but the moment of his arrival is not the time. Let him talk first. Remember, his topics of conversation are much more important than yours.
How about this? Make him comfortable. Have him lean back in a comfortable chair. Have him lie down in the bedroom. Have a cool or warm drink ready for him. And arrange his pillow and offer to take off his shoes. Speak in a low, soothing, and pleasant voice. Ridiculous. I'm not rubbing my husband's feet.
Maybe write down some of your favorite ones because especially the females in the class, maybe you're thinking, I would never do this. It's just not something that we do nowadays. So kind of interesting just to kind of get the culture of what it was like to be a woman in the 50s.
Okay, so like we kind of mentioned before, fourth quarter is going to be all about the Cold War. The Cold War is going to last from 1946 all the way until 1991. So a very, very long time. Now the Cold War isn't actually a war, but there's little wars that are within the Cold War, like the Korean War and the Vietnam War, which we'll focus on.
So today, like we talked about, our focus is going to be on this Cold War. And like Doug said, it is not an actual war, which is really weird. So hopefully you'll get a firm grasp of what that actually means when we go through some of these topics.
All right, so who was it between? The Cold War is between the Soviet Union and the U.S., so the U.S. and the SU. And it happens from 1945 till 1991.
What? That's a long time.
I know. From right when World War II ends through 1991.
So did they actually fight a war? Well, we've kind of said, no, it's not an actual war like what we've talked about before. There's no actual battles where they duke it out. It's just where they're really hostile towards one another. So we hate the Soviet Union more than anything between the years 45 and 91. And it's kind of like we're just building up as much weapons and nuclear technology just in case they do something super, super shady.
It's like a staring contest.
Yeah.
We want to beat the Soviet Union in everything. Maybe you've seen the movie Miracle. In the Olympics, we even want to beat the Soviet Union in hockey. I mean, literally, it's a competition for everything. Who can get up to space first? Who can win hockey? Who can have the most money and the most guns? But we just don't ever fight.
Weird. Mm-hmm. It's a weird time. So it's a fight between the two different types of governments that these two countries have. So in the United States, we have capitalism. And in the Soviet Union, they have communism, which we've kind of talked about a little bit, but we're going to really bring communism to the forefront in this time period because it's a big deal.
Okay, so communism just means that the government controls all of the factories. So, like in America, you can go and start your own company. In the Soviet Union, you can't. Only the government can start companies and hire people. So that way the government controls how much they pay you and who gets to work where. So it's a very controlling system.
And capitalism, what we have in the United States, just think about how many people, maybe even some of your own parents, have their own businesses. And that's what our country is built on, is these being able to start your own business and to have your own property. And in the Soviet Union, they don't believe in that.
All right, so we're very scared in 1945 that the Soviet Union wants to take over the world and turn everyone communist. Now that's not really true, but we're just so scared of communism that we don't want it to happen.
Now the Soviet Union thinks that the United States wants every country to be capitalist, and we are kind of greedy and we just want to take over countries for our own benefit, which isn't true, but that's the way that they see us.
All right, so Stan and I like to say the Cold War is kind of like a ping pong match. It's like this back and forth, where there's no like huge moves, but it definitely doesn't stop.
There they are.
So let's look at our two sides in this ping pong match.
So, Soviet Union, so this guy here, of course, is Stalin, and you've seen him before. So the Soviet Union is very bitter, especially after World War II, and they want revenge.
The Germans, when the Germans and the Soviets fight each other in World War II, the Germans are really brutal to Soviet people. And so Stalin and the Soviets want to get back at Germany. So there's a very strong communist drive and this want to just pound Germany into the ground.
The Soviet Union wants the world to beat the wealthy. The Eastern European countries will help rebuild and make rich. So the Soviet Union got pretty beat up after World War II, and so they want to help rebuild and make Europe a stronger country again.
And they figure, you know what, 20 million of us died in World War II. That's 20 million Russians. We deserve a little revenge. So they're going to try to keep Germany very weak after World War II.
Now in the United States after World War II, we're pretty positive, especially since we helped the Allies win. And we kind of get a little egotistical. We kind of get a little big-headed after World War II because we feel like we are the best and the Allies couldn't have won without us. So we're feeling pretty awesome about ourselves.
We're very helping and giving. We call ourselves interventionists. So we go around, and if we see anyone in the world that needs help, needs protection, we kind of just jump to their aid. So we're very involved in foreign affairs right after World War I. Because we're so cocky, we just think that we should be.
We're also pretty rich at this time. Think about it. We came out of the Great Depression. World War II helped us to do that. And at this point, we're pretty rich because we have so many industries and factories that are doing so well after World War II.
And remember, we're the only country that didn't get destroyed in World War II, besides Pearl Harbor. So we already are like on a higher level than all the other countries in the world.
So very different statistics for each country, very different views of the world for each country. So that's why we're so hostile towards each other. So the strategy for the Soviet Union during this quote-unquote war is going to be the buffer zone.
And if you look up on the whiteboard, hopefully I have actually drawn one of my lovely maps for you. You'll notice the Soviet Union is over to the right, and all those little countries to the left of the Soviet Union, Stalin's going to take those over and make them a buffer zone. So basically, if anyone from the left-hand side tries to attack the Soviet Union, they have to go through all those little countries first. So it's a way to protect his big country from attack.
The United States strategy during this quote-unquote war is containment. So our whole goal is to make sure that communism does not spread, especially out of the Soviet Union. We want to keep it where it is and not let it spread to the United States. So these two strategies are super important, so put a star by them. If you're not sure what the heck they mean, maybe Dunk can go through them with you, but make sure you know those two strategies.
Yeah, or even pause it right here and call me over so I can explain the map to you, the buffer zone thing, because you really don't want to be lost at this part. Alright, so that's how things as background. In 1945, we have what was called the Yalta Conference. That's just right after World War II. And FDR, Stalin, and Churchill decide what to do with Europe. So it looks like we're friends, right? FDR's from America, Stalin's from the Soviet Union, and Churchill is from Great Britain. Well, what we decide to do is split Germany right down the middle into two parts, the East and the West. Now the East, I always say, is East, because the Soviets control it, okay, or Russia.
And then the west part of Germany is going to be the Allies. So Great Britain, France, the United States are going to control it. So it's trying to be even, but it's kind of our way of thinking things will be fair if we split it this way.
And if you look at West, you see the word we. So we are in the West. You want to remember who controls which part.
Dunk, you're so clever.
Oh, thanks.
They're also going to split the city of Berlin in two parts. So they split the whole country of Germany, and they're going to split the city of Berlin that's in Germany into two parts. So also East and West. So it's going to be the same. So the Soviets are going to control Eastern Berlin, and the other Allied powers are going to control the West.
Now you might be asking yourself, if you look up at the map that I think I've drawn on the whiteboard, that's weird. Berlin is over on the west side, or I'm sorry, it's on the east side. Why would the Soviets give up that city? Well, we basically all want a little piece of Berlin because it's a massive city and it's very industrial. So even though it's in the Soviet section, we still want a part of it, okay? So make sure you look up at that map I drew of Germany and call me over if you don't understand this part.
So that's going to be crucial and cause a lot of problems later.
There's that buffer zone. If you look at Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, those are all the little countries that are going to protect the Soviet Union in case they get attacked.
Oops. And there's Germany that's going to be split. There's Eastern Germany, and that's where Berlin is.
Yep, and if you look,
Sorry.
if you go to the top right here, maybe I can use the mouse. So this whole part right here, okay, that's the Soviets. And this whole part over here is we. We are in the West, right? So the French on the top, the British on the middle, and we on the bottom. Now Berlin's right here, okay? So we still want a piece of that. So if we go to the next one, this is what Berlin looks like. Half of the city of Berlin is Russian. Here we go. And half is the same. Okay, French, British, and ours. Yay! Now what Stalin's going to do is he's going to lock us in this city so we can't get out. And he puts up this yellow thing called the Berlin Wall. Maybe you've heard of that before. Okay, what it does is it traps all of our people, all of our Germans that we're helping on one side of the city and they can't get out. In fact, he puts armed guards there. So if they try to escape, they're killed. It's not good.
So that's when, at this time, this is when game is on for us. So